Call this meeting to order. Cameron, can you take roll?
Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozen?
Here.
Ms. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here. Let's all stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is part of the meeting where we talk about our goals. We have 3 goals. The first goal is student achievement. That's our number 1 goal, and our other goals support that. We mention it every night. I know it probably gets annoying after a while, but those are our 3 goals. That's what we do. The second one is financial prudence, and the third one is community engagement. We take all 3 of them very seriously, and that's what guides these meetings and everything we do. With that, that brings us to recognition.
We have no recognition tonight, but get ready for April 19th. There are going to be a whole lot of people here to be recognized, so we're looking forward to that.
Just signed a very large stack of
That's
recognition
right.
slips.
That's
so
right.
It'll be excellent. Superintendent's report?
Just wanted to share a few updates. I've got a slide up here on the board for everyone to see, but it's hard to believe, but we're already starting planning. Obviously, high school and middle school kids have started scheduling for next year. And kindergarten registration opens up next week, as you can see, starting with Chapman on Monday and ending with Whitney on Friday. Kindergarten registration is right here in the administrative offices. It's 8 to noon. You don't have to make an appointment. Just come on up. We'll help you get registered. For more information, you can go to the website. And just a reminder for all of our community members, even if you signed up a letter of intent for full-day kindergarten, you need to come to kindergarten registration. That's how we know officially that you want to enroll as a kindergarten student. And just as a point of reference, as of today, we have 200 students that have expressed their intent for full-day kindergarten. So Jenny and I will be meeting shortly to determine how many sections we will have, and especially once we get kindergarten students enrolled. So we're excited to get our class of 2018-19 kindergartens ready to go.
Excellent.
Just a couple things as we talked about recognition. Since the last meeting, our mock trial team had a great showing at the state, finishing 3rd in the state last weekend. And DECA, as always, did a phenomenal job. A whole lot of new records have been broken, and I'll keep that for the 19th when Jessica and her students will be here. But out of the 80-plus students that participated, we had 15 that qualified for nationals, which I believe is in Atlanta, Georgia this year in a few weeks. So we'll be looking forward to recognizing those students shortly. And we had a very successful winter athletics season. So as you could see, highlighting some of the basketball accomplishments, our 8th grade Green Boys, our Green Boys basketball team, they were the Greater Cleveland Conference champs. The Green Girls were GCC champs as well. The White Girls basketball, 8th grade, placed 3rd in the tournament. As we know, our varsity girls team lost a tough regional game, finished in the Elite 8. Our boys varsity basketball were district runner-up. Gymnastics, 5th place in the championships. Swimming and diving, we were GCC champions for our girls, and we had 9 state qualifiers, which is a phenomenal accomplishment. And then hockey had their most wins in school history. So very proud of what we've done and what our coaches and student athletes have done in winter athletics. And every team, even if they're not listed, every team improved. And one of the teams that's not on there is wrestling, but we've seen significant improvements in wrestling, and specifically also at the middle school level. There's a middle, it's not a recognized OHSAA, but there's a middle school state wrestling tournament. I believe we had 5 students qualify for that, and just have been dealing with middle school wrestling for a lot of years. This was the best showing that I can remember in a long, long time.
Yep.
And,
I think a lot of that is that the middle school now practices with the high school.
Yep.
And so that bus that gets them back and forth is very important that we keep that going.
That is.
So I'll put in my little dig for that right now.
No,
Keep that
it's worked out well, and Coach Pasillo and Coach Kletzer at the middle school have a great relationship, and they've worked together. And I think we may not see it right now, but in the next few years, we're going to see a good program building. Right, Mr. Evangelista? That's right.
Absolutely.
So that is the report to the community that I wanted to share tonight.
Thank you. That gets us to public comment. We don't have any. Item 8 is approval of minutes. We have the January 25th minutes, we have the February 1st minutes, and the February 15th minutes. I think we've all had a chance to review them. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Oh, it's still linked. Excellent. Any discussion or changes to those minutes? No? Cameron, can you take roll?
Mr. Grozen,
Yes.
Mr. Miko,
Yes.
Mr. Naso,
Yes.
Colonel Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Ludwig.
Yes.
Excellent. Motion passes. That brings us to the treasurer's report. We have a tall treasurer today, named
Just a
Cameron.
little taller than Mr. Anagnostou. As we said earlier, George is down in Cincinnati again, getting everything ready to roll over to our new integrated HR finance system. So he sends his regrets for not being here, but we do have a few items under his section. First of all, the financial report for the month ending February 28th, 2018, which is in Exhibit A. Under B, the tax rate resolution, that you accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor, and that can be found in Exhibit B. We do have a new fund. We are raising funds for a new baby grand piano for the high school. The last one's 30-plus years old that we're currently using, so we've gotten some, a little over $10,000 in donations thus far, so this is an account to accept those until we raise the total $35,000 that we need to purchase the piano, so that's there for your consideration. And then under D, the permanent appropriations for FY17, which can be found in Exhibit C. And that concludes the treasurer's report, unless there's questions.
On the baby grand piano, how's the fundraising going? I mean, what's the process, or what's the mechanism? Are they selling something or just taking donations, or?
Not yet. So what we're doing, Ken Mahalko, former Strongsville band director, Bruce Keenan, who's a Rotarian and a very involved community member, Andy Heyer, head of the music department, and I have been working together. So we've reached out. Right now, we're reaching out to a variety of community groups. And so that's still happening right now, but we do have some ideas that we've discussed that are slated to open that up to just general community fundraising with some initiatives to try and gain interest there. So we're going to get through this community outreach or organizational outreach and then see how much is left there to get additional funds. So the idea would be that the new baby grand would be at the high school. We would refurbish the old one, and then that would go to the middle school to be used as for another 35 years, maybe, if it could last that long, so.
Excellent.
Is that something that if we get the money tomorrow, you can get the piano the next day, or is there a lead time on pianos, or, I mean, can we have this for the start of next school year possibly?
Yeah, that would be the goal. Mr. Hires worked with companies to get quotes and look at that lead time piece, and, you know, these pianos are typically built, so there is a lead time that you need, because once you order it, then they build it. And so, but the idea would be if we can raise the funds to have that ready for the fall of 18.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to donate, contact the treasurer's office, right?
Contact the treasurer's office, absolutely, that'd be easiest.
And then hadn't the Rotary Group already donated a certain amount of money?
Yeah, so the Rotary Foundation, and we'll when everything's finalized, be recognizing the group. So they've donated $10,000 to the fund already. The Arts in Strongsville have donated, and so they're working with a variety of other groups. Obviously, it's a pretty specific niche. So some groups, their goals and what they donate their funds to don't align with a piano. But obviously we have a very generous community and organizations, and feel we can be able to raise that funds pretty quickly.
Excellent.
Yeah. Any other questions on the treasurer's report?
Nope, that brings us to the superintendent's report.
All right, so I wanted to give an update again, just a slide on the timely information. Next week, the big thing we wanted to share is, we've shared in multiple ways, our community conversations will be next week, Tuesday, March 20th at 6:30 p.m. We did send out an RSVP. We have about 150 yeses and 180 maybes. So we've decided to move the location to the middle school to accommodate a larger group. So Chief Fender and I will be there presenting for sure. We may have a couple other folks on the panel. But what we've done is we sent out a survey to our community and our parents and said, what do you want to have us talk about? And Mr. Faust and Ms. Petrie were nice enough to go through almost 200 comments and look at themes for us. So Chief Fender and I will be meeting and discussing those topics that we want to address. So just as a reminder, it's about a half-hour presentation, 15 to 20 minutes of question and answer, and then we'll be there afterwards for any individual answers. So we feel strongly that we'll be able to address what's most important to our community based on the submitted questions.
Hey, Cameron?
Yes.
Might be good to have the SROs up there with you.
Yeah, I'll check with the chief tomorrow and see if that's a possibility. Yeah. Moving on, our next week, we also have, on that same day, we have an all-city choir concert that's gonna be at the high school, and we have some of our spring orchestra concerts on Wednesday and Thursday next week at the auditorium. So encourage everybody to go out and hear those wonderful groups perform. And I don't think we ever need a reminder, but spring break is coming up the last week of May through the Monday, April 2nd. And then spring sports are starting. So even though it may be a little snowy outside, spring sports are up and running, and we've got some lacrosse, softball, and track and field events coming up. Any questions on the timely information?
Nope.
All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Operations Manager Steve Breckner for the Business Services Report.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of items for you here, some gifts that were given to the school district. The first gift is the classroom of Amy Edwards Muraski Elementary School received 2 sets of Norwood plastic stack stools, 5 stools per set, valued at $113.08. These items were received through the Donors Choose program. And the other gift is the Arts in Strongsville donated $500 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Be filling in for the curriculum report tonight. We have a couple things for your consideration. First of all, summer school dates for 17-18. Summer school will be June 11th through 29th for elementary. Elementary is a free program that we provide to our students that are identified and needing some support in reading in specific grade levels. So invitation letters will be going out shortly. Secondary summer school will be June 11th through July 13th. That is for student remediation for those that need it, as well as, what are we running this year, Ms. Palco?
We're running health and PE for credit advancement. So that will be June 11th, I believe, through June 30th. That lasts 3 weeks.
And so we'll have that going, and that's besides the ones that Jenny shared, predominantly an online platform with teacher support offered. And we also have the Strongsville Middle School Curriculum Guide that's up for your consideration as well. Any questions on curriculum?
Nope.
All right, with that, I'll turn it over to our Director of Student Services, Andy, with his
Good
report.
evening. 2 items for your consideration. One is settlement resolution found in Exhibit D. And then secondly, extended school year program that is funded out of our federal entitlement funds. The dates are there below, starting June 19th, going through August 2nd. One thing to point out, it says Chapman, but that pilot location will be changed most likely. Chapman's gonna undergo a lot of permanent improvements over the summer, and so we need to find a location that's not going through so much construction and work at the building. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
For the first item, we need a vote, so I need a motion. Thank you, George.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. Duke can't talk tonight, he doesn't have a voice, so someone's gonna have to fill in for the seconds. Any discussion? We've all read it, we all know what it is. Can you take roll?
Mr. Grozen?
Yes.
Mr. Micko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes,
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Ludwig?
Yes.
motion passes.
Any questions for Andy?
Nope, thank you.
All right, thank you. And lastly, we have Human Resources Report from Jenny Falco.
Good evening. I have the following items for your consideration this evening. Under Human Resources, under E1, the appointment of a certificated staff member, appointment for non-certificated staff, appointment for non-certificated substitute, and appointments for certificated substitutes. Continuing under E1, appointments for certificated supplemental contracts paid upon completion, appointments for non-certificated supplemental contracts paid upon completion, and appointments for a certificated job share for 2018-19 school year. and appointments for certificated elementary summer school. Under E2, changes in hours for non-certificated staff. Under E3, changes in status for a certificated staff. Changes in status for non-certificated staff. Under E4, contract recommendations for our non-certificated staff. Under E5, stipend for our 2018 Jumpstart Coordinator. Under E6, medical leaves for certificated staff, 1 medical leave for non-certificated leadership, and medical leaves for non-certificated staff. Under E7, unpaid medical leaves for certificated staff and unpaid medical leaves for non-certificated staff. And finally, under E8, we have our volunteers for our student chaperones. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
All the chaperones were checked out. I see some names in there that are a little,
Yes, fully
Mr.
checked out.
Grozen's in
Yes.
there, so I just want to make
Yes,
sure that,
make
you
sure.
know,
Yeah, he passed.
everyone was checked out, fingerprinted,
Fully vetted.
fully
Fully
vetted,
vetted, yes.
okay.
Fully vetted.
Very important.
I think we should vote separately. There's two.
There's
There's
two
two.
there and there that I recognize, yes.
Yes.
We have
Oh,
no
yeah.
items under technology, so that concludes my report for this month.
Excellent. That brings us to our Polaris report.
Thank you, Carl. I do want to highlight CVS Pharmacy graciously and is doing a in-house pharmacy at Polaris. March 23rd, next week, we're going to have a grand opening, but it will have CVS donated shelving, they donated product, they donated everything we need to have a mini pharmacy or a mini convenience store in the school, and it's part of their efforts in the community, and it's targeted for students with disabilities. And so we have a program at Polaris for that student population, and they're going to learn stocking procedures, customer service, multitasking, point of sale, all those kinds of skills that are needed and useful, and we appreciate the commitment that CVS Pharmacy has made to this program. And so we're very excited to have another program at Polaris that allows us to do what I call learning in action, which is part of Polaris's mission to learn by doing. So it's going to be a great program, and we're very excited for it, and I wanted to publicly thank CVS Pharmacy for their commitment to the program. In addition to that, I wanted to highlight Polaris has a number of adult education opportunities in a lot of different disciplines. The career ones have certificates or some kind of industry credential. There is expense to that, and one of the ways Polaris helps with that expense is publicizing scholarship opportunities. So I wanted to highlight one tonight. It's called the College Now Adult Learner Scholarship. It is for one of the key criteria for eligibility is you have to be 19 years or older, having a 1-year gap in your education. You need to have a high school diploma or a GED, and this scholarship specifically targets those adult individuals who do not have a bachelor's degree at this point. But it is a scholarship opportunity. The deadline to apply is April 15th, and it's just one of the many scholarships that can help adult learners pay for their tuition at Polaris. If you go to the website, if you go to the adult learning portion of the website, there's a whole bunch of links for the various scholarship opportunities specifically for adults. And then I also wanted to highlight the Police Ranger Academy Boot Camp, which is another thing Polaris does, whether it's getting ready for the different police departments or the Metro Parks Rangers. They have Polaris sponsors a boot camp for the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy Physical Assessment Test. It is $100. You meet 12 times throughout the spring, and it does all the exercise or physical fitness to pass that test. The sit-ups, the push-ups, the running, etc. So if that's what you're interested in, it's a great opportunity to get ready for that test. And that completes my Polaris report.
Now, legislation?
Legislation, the big topic on everyone's mind is House Bill 512. Testimony was heard yesterday. It is at least within the education industry in Ohio, it's very controversial. The intent of House Bill 512 is to combine K to 12 education and all of the bureaucracy in Columbus for that, along with the higher education or the college bureaucracy, along with workforce transformation or job development into one department. It would be a cabinet-level department. One of the things that concerns me is that it would, the state school board of education, which currently is an elected / appointed body, loses most of its power or most of its responsibility, and it moves it to the cabinet director's position, which is a appointed position. So it takes it away from an elected body and puts it firmly in the governor's hands. And, you know, in one way, it makes 3 smaller bureaucracies to a larger bureaucracy. From Strongsville's perspective, we don't get as much help from Columbus as we need. So in general, I think people should pay attention to it, get informed about it, and in the months to come, I'll continue to have updates on it and have recommendations or suggestions on what the community should follow up with. But that completes my report.
Thank you. Brings us to board liaison reports. James, City Council?
I was not at the city council meeting, so Colonel Evans.
I was, and Mr. Carbone's here tonight, and Mr. Micko and I were there for that one. But the council approved some road repairs for the summer. They also approved some repairs to the sewer treatment plants in town. And other than that, it was uncontroversial, which was a good thing. And there's a lot of activities coming up in the city here with spring and summer coming along, so stay tuned, and we'll see how we progress. I know we had the review on the 30-year plan as well, not that meeting, but that you were doing, Jim. So hope that went well. That's it.
Jenny and I
Thank
were
you.
there.
And we're still working on dates, so if you guys could shoot me some dates that would work, that we want to have a joint meeting between City Council and the school board. So we'll have a special board meeting, and we'll all get together, probably in their chambers because it's bigger, and get together and just talk about ways we can help each other and work together better. So that'll be coming up. That brings us to Jane, PTA.
That would be George, because he went to the PTA meeting.
Ah.
I know,
Yes.
I was on vacation.
I skipped
There
my
are,
own, but go ahead.
the next Dare Dance is gonna be on May 18th. They are looking for volunteers, so if there is anybody that can help out, and it is at our rec center, so May 18th is our next Dare Dance.
Excellent. All right. Strongsville Education Foundation met yesterday morning. I was unable to attend. Cameron, you were there?
I was. They continue to approve some of our educator grants. We're excited to see the additional resources our teachers are going to have because of their work. Putting the finishing touches on the Jockeys and Juleps event. Not this Friday, but the next Friday, we'll honor one of the lead donors for that event, and highlighting one of those local businesses in the city. But just continuing to move forward with both the education grants we've had. They were excited. One of our first field trips that they sponsored, the first graders went last Friday to go see the Gruffalo. I don't know if everybody's kids are older, so there's a book called, Ann, are you with me, The Gruffalo? You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, my kids, we read the Gruffalo, but they had the children's theater. They went down there and, they just had a phenomenal experience. We think sometimes, our kids get to have all these experiences, but a lot of kids, it's the first time they've ever gone down to Playhouse Square to see that theater, to see a live production. And so we even had some of our first grade classes make a little video to thank the SEF and send that to them. So it was a great kickoff. We've got a lot of spring field trips coming up, kindergarten zoo trips coming up. So they were very excited to start to see some of their investment come back. And the Where I'm From, the Ville shirts, rough estimates are about $8,000 that have been donated back to the district from that, which is going directly to help support that cost for the field trip. So that was the gist of the meeting.
Excellent. Thank you.
And if you haven't been to Jockeys and Juleps, you guys are missing out. I mean, it's bow ties, big hats. It's a lot of fun. You can even see this guy in a bow tie, which is hilarious, and Jimmy, who's gonna be there. But if you guys, I mean, really, truly, if you wanna have a great time, grab a few friends, grab a table, and come and join us. All the money, minus the expenses, and Brian Gingerbread does an amazing job getting people to donate stuff and keep our expenses as low as possible. All that money goes right back to our kids. So please, 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 if you haven't been, grab a few friends, give us a call, we'll get you a table, and we'll show you how to spend some money.
And
It's a
it's at
great
the
event.
rec center this year, correct?
Yes,
Yes. Yep.
yes.
Yep, it's a great event. Excellent. PTA? Oh, we did
Yeah, we
PTA,
did.
student achievement.
I finally get to give a report. Okay.
Excellent.
Well, I wanted to highlight a little bit more on DECA. We always hear about DECA, because they're just such a phenomenal program. But people are like, what is DECA? What does DECA do? So I have a little recap of DECA for you today, because it's one of our more successful programs that we do offer in the district. The students have to prepare for a 100-question exam that covers all kinds of topics from business management, finance, hospitality, and marketing. So they have to study vocabulary and standards, and that test score is 1/3 of the overall grade that they receive at this competition. So the other 2/3 of their score comes from a role play that is given, and they're presented a case study and in whatever category that they're participating in, and they have to apply all of the knowledge that they've learned in class and to solve a problem. For example, the business law team had a Lunchables sort of company trying to ethically promote their new lunch cheese and cracker sandwich as essential for a child's lunch, but it is unhealthy. So, how do they have to promote it while remaining ethical? And that was one of the challenges that they had to face. So, I mean, just think about how would you do that yourself? So the fact that so many of our students really excel at this competition is a testament to the two advisors, because we've expanded it, Jessica Frenchick and Molly Mason. So I want to give a shout out to them as well. And I hope that the 15 students have success as they continue on. So that's the one program I wanted to highlight. And then another one is our math department. We have a phenomenal math department, and high schoolers participated in the state math contest, and 5 of them are advancing to the next round at Capital University. But one student in particular, Jimmy Foley, received the 2nd highest score in the entire state of Ohio on the math test. So I just want to congratulate him, and good luck as they continue on in their competitions.
Excellent.
So just a little testimony for what you're going to have in April to discuss. But
That's right.
Excellent. And that's a clear example, getting the 2nd highest score in math that we all, we frequently say, and we want people to understand, is that if you choose Strongsville schools, I mean, you can send your kids anywhere you want to go, but our top kids can compete with anybody's top kids. Any school, any district, any state, anywhere, anytime. So if you want your kids to excel, bring them here, and they'll do well.
there's certainly a lot of opportunity.
There sure is. With that brings us to Finance Committee. There was not a Finance Committee meeting. Policy Committee, we've got 2.
We have 2 for second reading.
2 for second reading. Facilities,
Our next meeting is this coming up Thursday. I will not be able to attend, so one of you two will have to try to fill in for me.
okay.
And it's open to the public, so anybody
Yeah.
who wants to talk about brick and mortar,
And
please
where
come.
is it this month?
Great question.
I'm getting there.
Middle school,
The middle school.
at the middle
Okay.
school.
Middle school, excellent.
Thank you. Sorry to.
No.
No, it's a great question. It's
Thank
a great
you.
question. And they're always listed, if you go to the homepage, they're always on the right-hand side near the top. It lists all the
Yep,
different
as-
meetings that
as
are
from
coming
middle
up,
school,
so,
yep.
but that's a great question. With that brings us to the consent calendar. All items with an asterisk are approved in a single vote. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George.
Second.
Thank you, Richard. There were no changes.
Well, we did,
There was one,
yeah, on page 8, number 2 for the ESY. Andy, are we sure which building? Is it gonna be at Sarrar, or aren't we sure yet?
Most likely Sarrar, I don't want to say 100% certain.
Okay.
So can we just make?
Just, if we just get rid of the elementary school identifying.
named.
okay,
To be
Okay.
named.
School
Yeah.
to be named later.
TBD. All right. Take roll?
Okay. Mr. Rosen?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Ludwig?
Yes.
Excellent. That brings us to the board policies. We have a second reading for field and other district-sponsored trips and personal communication devices. Item 17, Board of Education, other. I have one other. We got a very nice email from Alex Marietta, who had some suggestions on school safety. He's a student in our district, and I just want to thank him for his thoughtful email where he thought through some issues, and it was well done. So it was cool. So thank you, Alex. Other, no, I don't have any other. Anybody know Full House State won?
They
They
did.
did.
Did it? Oh, excellent, okay, that'll conclude other. Meeting notices, we do have a regular board meeting on April 5th, right here at 7 o'clock. And then we have a meeting on April 19th, at 7 o'clock, right here. Item 19 is executive session. We do have need for executive session.
To confer with an attorney for the Board of Education concerning disputes involving the board that are subject to pending or imminent court action, and to discuss details relative to the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for the Board of Education.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
thank you. Any discussion? Take roll. Cameron, thank you.
Mr. Grozen?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Excellent. We'll go into executive session at 7:40. 7:40. We won't resume public business. We have no reason to come back out, so thank you very much. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody on this Saturday. Be safe, be green. It's a Mustang Day.
It is.
Excellent.
Happy spring break.
Happy spring break.